Hey guys, got one I wanted to share with you. I don't know what's going on with the lighting. The light's been going on and off. I'm not sure why, but wanted to share this one with you. This is a prime example of why you do not feed them and you do not gift them. And I'm glad that Frank decided to share this with us. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into it with you. His name is Frank Harrington. Date happened is 10/23/2021. Location is Council Grove, Kansas. His age is 62. He said, I wanted to share this as I think it is important to share. I've done what a lot of you have done, and that is I gifted Bigfoot for about 8 years. I had no problem with them, and I would leave them food as I live alone and only have company when my grandson stays with me in the summer or if I have friends over. And my grandson would stay with me a lot sometimes during the summer and his short vacations that he gets from school because he's in the ninth grade. The Bigfoot knew him too, but Josh was not accepting to them as I was. I took them all leftovers that I had from my meals because I was the only one there and there was always a lot of leftovers from my meals. I would also buy fruit and I would leave fruit for them and leave extra treats as candy bars, or I would always buy a few extra this or that and leave out for them. Bad mistake. You don't ever want to do that, guys. He says, my grandson come to stay with me for 2 weeks with me, and I was excited to have him down. So having two of us, I didn't have enough leftovers or as much leftovers as I usually did, and I didn't have the time to be able to spend with the Bigfoot that I had spent normally with him because me and my grandson were busy having a lot of fun. He lives on a farm, he says, close to a large lake. Things started to change. They started coming up to the house and breathing heavily, scratching on the house, and they would bang sometimes on the house. They started poking on the screens and tapping on the windows. We could see large figures at the windows, large shadows at the windows, and my grandson began to get afraid. I told him they wouldn't bother him. I've known him for 8 years. They were just coming up, probably trying to see who was new at the house. And he said, "But I'm not that new. I come down every summer. I'm here for 2 weeks out of the spring break." And he said, "Well, maybe they just don't recognize you this time." Then one night they were growling and they started to get more vigilant. He says they started to scare us. Even I was scared because I flipped on the outside floodlights and heard them run off just out of the light's way. And a few moments later, the lights shattered and went off. I thought to myself, this is way out of context for these. The next morning we went outside and checked, and sure enough, my floodlights were busted and two large rocks lie at the bottom of the foundation of the house. Led through rocks and busted out his lights. That's when it got worse. The tree beatings we had been hearing from like the Indian drums, it had much of music. It had not a music rhythm to it, but as you know, the tree knocks that you hear from other YouTubers about the knocks and them knocking back. But this time, for some reason, they started knocking in a way that sounded more like drums, more like music. It had a beat to it. Very strange. We had never experienced this before either. The next night I heard them in the chicken house, and they had never done this either. So I went out and seen the door had been opened, and it was very dark. So I took the shotgun and I shot it into the air. He said whenever I shot the shotgun into the air, the creature ran from the chicken house off into the woods. You could hear it busting the limbs as it ran, heavy-footed. The next morning when I checked, all my chickens were dead. Some smashed, others no heads, and some just torn apart and shredded. I was afraid they was going to get me, so I done something I probably should not have done and probably where a lot more of my troubles extended. I poisoned one of the chickens and left it there for them. That night, it came back. We heard it in the chicken house. And then, the worst thing. At about 3 or 4 in the morning, we heard the god-awfulest moaning you had ever heard. Yelling, moaning, for the longest time. And then it quit. Then it was quiet for almost the remainder of my grandson's stay until one night it came to the house, and this time not only knocks, but it beat the hell out of the side of the house. It jerked the air conditioner out of the visitor's room that I have through the window and threw it almost 50 yards from the house. You can see where it landed in the dirt. It had a large crater where the corner of the air conditioner landed. I couldn't believe what had been happening. But the worst thing had happened is the next morning, or that morning, whenever we went out to check on the horse was dead. Our horse had been gutted. We called the game warden this time and had the game warden come out to take a look at the horse to see what the damage had been done. The horse was not damaged in a way that you folks have probably heard, but he was rectally damaged in all of his innards, vitals, that's what he calls them. I'm assuming he means the organs were removed from the horse rectally. An necropsy was performed, and they found mud and dirt and grass inside of the stomach of the horse. It was evident that something had reached in with dirty, muddy hands and had retrieved the organs. I told them the story of what had been going on for the last 8 years, and told them about it beating on the house and coming up to their house. They told me it was probably a mountain lion, that they have very sensitive hearing, and that if I plugged these devices in that they were giving me, they would keep it away from the house until they were able to catch it, subdue it, and get rid of it. These devices were large black boxes, had the large silver antennas on them, just like the old 80s CBs did that we used to play with as kids. All I had to do was plug one in each corner of the house in a light socket. Pretty simple. I done as they told me, and I plugged them in, and never had anything bother me up at the house. I could still hear the howls, but they were further away and always further away. They never came back to the house, so these little devices worked. When I asked the game warden the next day what these devices were that he gave me, he said they were just simple roach repellent devices that had sound that I was unable to hear, but the creatures could hear, the mountain lions. I knew what they were. He wasn't fooling me. I have plugged them in my house in every corner, and I've still had no problem. DNR is hunting them as we speak. Choppers nightly. They say they have almost got rid of the problem, as they have caught 2 large mountain lions and believe they have got the dominant mountain lion and believe that the rest are going to scatter and I should have no other problems. As of today, when I was writing this, the game warden showed up this evening, and they retrieved all their boxes and told me there should be no more problems. So far, all so good, all's quiet. If I hear anything else, I will get back to you. But Mike, I just wanted to write this because I want people to know. They're fine as long as you're feeding them. But the moment I stopped paying them attention, I stopped feeding them, they got angry. They came to the house and they sought revenge for something. And now I see that I should not have been friends with them, that they were never my friends. All I ever was the hand that fed them. And when that hand stopped feeding them, they wanted to eat that hand. I really believe they would have hurt me and my grandson. They were very angry that I was not doing what they wanted me to. I now suggest nobody feeds these creatures. Pay them no attention and let them know that they are not welcome on your property. I hope somebody is saved by this and doesn't make the mistakes I have. Thank you very much for your channel. I look forward to watching your videos, and y'all have the best channel on the YouTube on this subject. There you go, guys. Do not gift these things. It's a bad idea. You make them think that they're able to be there, that they're supposed to be there. They feel like you owe them something after a period of time, and if something happens, you can't do it. You get sick, you get the flu, you can't get out there, they may come and get you right out of your bed. I've said for a long time, do not gift these creatures. Do not feed them like that. They are smart. They get mad. They problem solve. They will set traps. They will come after you. So be careful, be safe, and keep your head on a swivel.